Well, hello and welcome to another video from Lockdown Electronics with me, Bill. And this time we've got part 2 of the EKCO U143 restoration project. And you may recall from previous video was deciding what I needed to do, whether I should try and rebuild it in its original format or whether I should try and include the modifications that have been made by a previous owner. And I've decided, after some deliberation, I'm going to revert it back to its original circuit design, as I've got plenty of details for that. So that's what I'm going to do. It's quite a bit of a challenge for me. I suspect I would describe myself as being a little bit out of my comfort zone doing this. No harm in that though, because that usually means there's a bit of learning to be had along the way. So the plan is to try and rebuild it, and let's just see how we get on. In this part of the video you'll be seeing the progress I make with the chassis and the first try out of powering up. So let's get on with it. Okay, a bit of an update on the EKCO 143. You may recall I decided to completely rewire it, and I began over here and then began to realise a lot of the resistors were also out of spec. So I've essentially decided to start again, and it's sort of a bit of a halfway house really now. This is the rectifier valve here, and that's the PA output valve, the tetrode. So all the power supply is now done, wired in, ready from the dropper resistor there, and also all the circuitry for the tone control and the bias for the power output stage is done. Here we've got the double diode triode valve, which is the detector, and I've just making a start on that. But all this here I've completely redone from scratch. I've actually had that tag strip out, taken everything off. A lot of the components were nowhere near the stated values. Done reasonably well on component ordering. Managed to forget to order something, but I've managed to create a very close match with 3 47k resistors there, which I've managed to put in parallel to get what I want. It's as near as makes no difference for a 15k resistor. So what I've been doing, because I'm clearly rewiring it and just copying it may have been an issue because of the modifications, I've taken a circuit diagram, and what I'm doing here is, as soon as I've actually completed some wiring, I'm highlighting it, and if it's not highlighted it's not connected. So as you can see here now, right up to there actually is done, and I need to start looking at the cathode passive components here and some of the biasing for that double diode triode, and then I can start moving on to the IF amplifier. So actually I've probably made good progress, so I'm pleased. Been a little bit daunting doing that, made me head spin on occasions, but hopefully it's okay. Hasn't actually worked yet, and if it creates loads of smoke then I'm going to know it wasn't okay. But pleased with what's happening so far. Okay, I've been doing a little bit of work on the speaker from the EKCO U143. You might recall from previous videos it was in a bit of a sorry state, very rusty. So I checked it out and it seemed to be working okay. It's about 4 ohms according to the well, the DC resistance is about 4 ohms. So I've cleaned up the cradle, given it a bit of a spray with grey paint. I've repaired 1 or 2 of the little bits of damage around the edge. There has been a previous repair in the past which actually seemed okay, and I've used a glue which is still a little bit flexible once it's completely dry, and then I've given it a coat of matte varnish, that's matte modelling varnish, and I got that idea from David Tipton's very excellent YouTube channel on restoring vintage gear. He sprayed his cones with a little bit of just a light spray paint. The idea being that the paint would soak into the old card and hopefully give it a bit of strength to continue to work well. So that's what I've done with the matte varnish. The nice thing about the matte varnish is you can't really tell it's there, apart from the fact it's taking the shine off the glue. And seems to be working okay. I've got it hooked up to my signal generator, so if I bring it up in steps, you should be able to hear, hopefully. If I bring it a little bit nearer. And if I turn the volume up and go back down, so there's no obvious distortion there. Can't hear any additional noise from the damage, so I think that's going to be okay. So all good. Well, here we are back again with the EKCO U143, and replaced most of the components now. There's a couple that I hadn't got, so I've managed to cobble together some interesting combinations of resistors to get me somewhere near to the value, certainly close enough to give it a try out. Because the circuit, as I've said before, was modified, I've certainly in the area of the front end been feeling my way a little bit, because the wiring was quite disturbed, but I think I'm somewhere near, so hopefully it's going to at least do something. I'm pretty confident that the amplifier, the rectifier, the oscillator, etc. should work okay, so that sort of give me a bit of encouragement, hopefully. So next thing to do is to attach a mains lead, get it attached to my current limited supply, and bring it up and see what happens. But quite a lot of components replaced there, so I put quite a few hours into that, but hopefully it's going to give us some kind of result. So next is put some power on. Okay, I'm about to just attach the mains lead now, and next job is to reattach the speaker. You may recall when I first showed you the radio, the speaker had a reasonably hard life and been repaired. I've done a little bit of work on it, and hopefully it certainly tests out okay, as you've heard from the tone generator, and I've sprayed the back, so hopefully that's going to be good. Moment of truth for the EKCO U143. So I've very carefully put the valves back in, making sure that they're in the right places, and just give everything a final check. It's attached to the mains. I've soldered the speaker on. I've got it attached to variac and my dim bulb current limiting device. So I'm going to put about 50 volts on, and then just switch on and see if anything goes bang. So there we go, that's about 50 volts on the variac, and I'm just going to very gingerly switch on. If anything does go bang, I shall switch off very quickly. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, and not a great deal happened there, thank goodness. So at least nothing exploded straight away. Bulb is still dim, not making anything out on the dial lights. So with it just there, I'm going to gingerly increase the power a little bit, see if I can see anything. So that's about 70 volts, very little change in the dim bulb. Dial lights have just started to glow now. Bulb is still dim, so I'm going to bring it up to about 100 volts on the variac. Just let it settle there for a moment. Both dial lights are dimly glowing. I'm going to turn the volume up, see if I can hear anything. Surprise, surprise, I can't. Trying to see if the valves are in emission. I had quite a job getting that valve into the socket. I'm not absolutely sure why. I was very careful, as I don't currently have a replacement. And all the valve heaters are actually in series, so if there isn't making a proper connection, then none of the valves are likely to heat up, but still okay. So I'm going to bring the voltage up a little bit more now, So we're up to about 150 there. Dial lights are getting brighter, and we'll just stop there a moment and see if I can see any glowing in the valves. It's really difficult to see, to be honest, with this light. Well, nothing started smelling yet, so I'm going to bring it up a bit more. Okay, the bulb's gone reasonably bright now. I'm at about 150 volts, something like that. So I'm just going to stop there and see what's what. Just going to feel these valves. Now they're all cold actually, or they appear to be. The good news is I can certainly see a filament glowing in the output valve there, so something's clearly working. I'm going to just come up a little bit more on the power. And I hear absolutely nothing on the speaker, which is mildly disappointing, but nothing at all. Well, the good news is nothing's gone bang. I keep saying that, but that is obviously a positive. So while I've got it powered up, I'm just going to see if I really have got some rectified DC. I'm going to fill the valves as well. That's cold. That's warm. That's quite warm. That's definitely warm. That's warmish. That's absolutely stone cold. I mean, the fact that the heater's working means that the circuit must be complete, so not entirely sure why that's doing what it's doing. Right, while I'm here, I can easily check the output voltage from the dropper resistor, so I'm just going to do that while I've got it set up. So I'll just turn on the voltmeter. Remember, this set is actually AC/DC compatible, so there's no transformer. That's what that big hole is there, but there is of course the dropper resistor, which is sort of a crude way of getting down to the level that you want. So I'm going to just find a reasonably good contact on the chassis there. I'm just going to see what I've got here. Right, saying about 1 volt, but not entirely convinced that's right. I'm going to need to do a bit of probing underneath, I think. So first start, I'm going to judge a success in that nothing's gone bang, although not hearing anything yet, but considering the amount of work I've done inside the chassis, I don't suppose that's entirely surprising. It's more than possible there's something not quite right. Good news is though that that pentode there, the output pentode, is definitely in emission, as is the rectifier. So that's not particularly warm. Maybe there's a bit of heat off that actually now. That isn't stone cold. So as I said before, it's got to be making a connection, because the valve heaters are all in series. So I'm going to switch off and turn it over and start looking at a few voltages on the valves to see what I can see. So we'll turn the set over and have a look. Okay, so here's the underside of the EKCO U143, and I've got negative side of the meter connected to the chassis. The chassis isn't actually at earth potential, so I'm being very careful here to try and avoid touching it at the moment. It actually should be at neutral, which in the UK is pretty much the same as ground, but I'm just being careful anyway. So I've got negative attached there. I'm going to bring the variac up to about 100 volts, and I'm going to just switch on and just monitor the brightness of the bulb. Got lit up dial lights immediately, so I'm going to come up to about 200 volts, and so there we are at about 170 volts there. So I'm just going to have a look at the anode voltages for a start on the valve, starting with the rectifier, and according to the servicing information I've got, I should get about, with a full mains supply, I should get about 235 volts AC off the anode on the rectifier. So we'll go to AC volts, and we'll ginger. The great thing about these valves is that the anode is almost pin 2. So let's see what we've got there. That's saying about 70 volts at the moment. So I'm just going to up the variac and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, bringing up the variac isn't making a great deal of difference there. Still at about 66 volts off there. So I'm just going to check a few other anode voltages. Go back to DC for that. So on the output pentode, we should theoretically have 187 volts. I'm not going to get that because we haven't got 235 on the other one, on the rectifier, but we can nonetheless have a go and see. Actually, I can get the anode there, can't I? Let's just try that. So fiddling, so it's about 103 volts actually, so that's reasonably good. 103 volts there. Would expect it to be 187, of course, so it's considerably down, but I haven't got the rectified voltage yet, so I need to look why that is. On the valve 3, there's, just get my head around where pins 1 and 2 is. That's earth to ground, so that's the anode there. I've got a crackle out the speaker there, which suggests to me the audio amplifier is working. 110 volts on that anode. Yeah, 110. I would expect it's saying there 120. That's not far off actually. That's only about 10 volts out. So let's go to the IF amplifier, which supposedly is going to be 193. That's slightly easier to get to. Just make sure I'm getting the right. Yeah, there it is. That's 107 volts. So that's considerably down, but what I'd expect. And finally, for completeness, we'll just check the anode of the there of the oscillator, 111 volts. That valve's twisted around a little bit, so I just have to remember to probe the right setting. So we actually have got anode voltage on all of them, which is good. I'm going to just check now. I'm going to go into AC volts. I'm just going to check what voltage I've got across the heaters on these valves. I'll go to one of the easier ones to check here, that one. About 6.6, yeah, that's what I'd expect. This one's a lot more difficult to get at, but there's the... I'm going to put the probe cover back on so I don't short anything out amongst that nest of wiring. Now I don't think I'm quite touching the connection there, so now, I can't say that very well, so I'm not going to take a chance. Let's go on to the power pentode, which I would expect to be that's actually where the ground connection is. It's about 7.8 volts, and I can't really get at the others very easily from this angle, so I won't risk that. But while I've got it switched on, I'm just going to try injecting an audio frequency tone into the around the plate. Okay, I'm just going to try and see what bits do work. What I've got here is this just produces a tone. It's a cheap Chinese signal tracer, and I've got just a 100 nanofarad capacitor there to isolate me from some of the voltages on the board. I've got it earthed to the chassis, so I'm just going to touch this on the grid of the PA valve. Ah, there we go. I'm just going to turn that. Oops. So as you can see, we've certainly got audio. Let's yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good start. Yeah, that's post volume control, so I can't turn it down, but one thing is for sure, the rectifier and the output pentode are certainly working, because we've got a fully functioning audio stage, so that's good. Right, well, I'm going to switch off, have another good look at the circuit diagram, make sure I am happy with the various bits and pieces I've done, and then we'll try and inject a signal a little bit further up the chain. That's obviously only audio frequency, and there's this valve here is the detector, and I suspect I probably need to input a modulated RF signal further upstream to allow it to try and show me something. So we'll have a go at that and see how we get on. Okay, well, that's the end of the next part of the continuing saga of the EKCO U143. Partial success and full success in the sense that nothing's gone bang, so I've obviously managed to avoid creating any short circuits, and considering I've pretty much completely rebuilt it from ground up, I'm quite pleased about that. So next job is to start having a look and seeing if I really have got everything right. I've just been having a look around the oscillator valve, and I'm not detecting any IF oscillation, so I suspect there's issues there as well. So I've got lots to think about. So look forward to the next instalment, and we'll see you then. If you've liked the video, please click the thumbs up. If you've not, you can click the thumbs down. Obviously there's opportunity to comment below, that would be good. It'd be great if you could subscribe, that would help me. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.